A new discovery. Captain Amelia Steele stood on the observation deck of the Eagle's Edge, watching the distant stars flicker like scattered diamonds against the infinite black. She had always found solace in the vast emptiness of space, but today something felt different. It wasn't just the quiet hum of the quantum drives or the delicate pulse of the ship's engines. No, today there was an air of anticipation. Something new was out there. "Captain, we've arrived at the coordinates," said Commander Merrow, his voice tinged with both excitement and unease. Amelia turned, looking at him with sharp eyes. "Show me." The massive star map flickered on the main screen, and the small, seemingly unremarkable solar system appeared. The data suggested it was home to a planet that hadn't even mastered basic space travel. No radio signals, no advanced tech, just a world ripe for observation. Or so they thought. "Begin passive scans. No need to alert them just yet," she ordered. The crew moved swiftly to their tasks. But even before the scans fully processed, something was wrong. It wasn't just the data, it was the pulse of the planet. The energy readings from the third planet, Earth, were far stronger than expected. Lieutenant Marissa Cade, the ship's sensor expert, frowned at her station. "Captain, these readings. They're unlike anything I've ever seen. Primitive radio waves, yes, but something beneath them. Something older, more advanced. I've never seen energy signatures like this on a pre-spacefaring planet." Amelia's mind raced. If these readings were correct, Earth wasn't what it appeared to be. But before she could respond, an emergency alert blared across the ship. The crew froze. A communication from an unknown source rang out across the comms. "Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. Power down your engines and prepare for inspection." Commander Merrow's face went pale. "Impossible. Our stealth systems should be undetectable." "Apparently not," Amelia replied calmly, her voice steady despite the sudden tension. Before anyone could react, 3 ships appeared from seemingly nowhere, materializing around the Eagle's Edge. Their design was unlike any that the crew had ever seen, with angular shapes and propulsion systems that looked almost ancient. But something about them made Amelia uneasy. Their cloaking technology was flawless, and their weaponry, it was advanced. "This is Commander Kiara Oswin of the Earth Defense Fleet. Your vessel matches no known configuration in our database. State your intentions," a voice echoed through the comms. A chill ran down Amelia's spine. Earth's Defense Fleet. But Earth was supposed to be a fledgling species, barely out of its atmosphere. How could they have developed this level of technology? Something didn't add up. "This is Captain Amelia Steele of the exploration vessel Eagle's Edge. We come in peace, seeking only to observe and catalog your world's development," she said, her voice cool and diplomatic. "We believe your species had just begun space exploration." The voice from the Earth fleet seemed to laugh. A low, knowing chuckle. "Captain Steele, please remain where you are. A diplomatic team will dock with your ship shortly. Do not attempt to scan our ships or activate any weapon systems. We consider such actions unfortunate." The communication cut off, and Amelia could only stare at the ships. Despite their primitive appearance, everything about these vessels spoke of something far older than the crew had been led to believe. Earth, it seemed, wasn't what they had thought. As the shuttle approached for docking, Amelia's mind raced. This wasn't just a simple mission to observe a developing species. They were dealing with something much older, much more powerful than they could have imagined. The truth unfolds. The airlock hissed as the shuttle from Earth docked with the Eagle's Edge, its sleek hull barely disturbing the ship's advanced shields. Captain Amelia Steele's breath caught as the vessel came to a halt. The design of the ship was archaic by human standards, angular and functional, but what it lacked in elegance, it made up for in its unnerving presence. It was cloaked in a shroud of energy fields that bent the light around it, giving it an almost ghostly appearance. Yet, despite the simplicity of its exterior, Amelia knew it hid secrets. The docking bay doors opened, and there they stood, A delegation from Earth. Commander Kara Oswin led them, flanked by several others, human figures clad in military uniforms that didn't belong to any known faction. The uniforms were not made from the standard fabrics the Eagle's Edge crew had encountered in their travels. The stitching patterns and materials seemed too advanced, almost alien in their construction. As Amelia stepped forward, her crew behind her, she noticed something curious in the human's eyes. It wasn't the cold, calculating demeanor typical of soldiers or diplomats. No, there was something else, an unsettling sense of age, of experience that stretched far beyond what should have been possible for a species that, by their records, had only begun venturing beyond their planet a mere 2 centuries ago. Commander Oswin's sharp gaze locked onto Amelia's. There was a long, unnerving pause before she spoke. "Welcome to Earth space, Captain Steele. We've been expecting you." Expecting them. How could that be? Their mission had been secret, unacknowledged by any galactic authority. Amelia's mind raced, trying to process the information. Her first instinct was to reach for her sidearm, but she held her composure. "I'm afraid I'm confused, Commander," Amelia said slowly, choosing her words with care. "Your world has only recently begun space travel. Your records show no evidence of advanced technology. Yet here you are, intercepting us with ships that are decades, if not centuries, ahead of anything we've ever encountered." Commander Oswin smiled, but it wasn't the smile of a typical diplomat. It was something older, wiser. "Captain, I think it's time you learned the truth." She gestured for Amelia to follow her as she walked toward the center of the docking bay. As they moved, Amelia felt the weight of the moment. There was an undeniable power in Commander Oswin's presence. She was a leader, not just in title, but in essence, as if she carried the responsibility of something far greater than her position let on. "The truth about Earth?" Amelia asked, her voice barely a whisper as she moved to keep pace. Commander Oswin stopped and turned, her dark eyes locking with Amelia's once more. "Yes, Earth, your records are wrong. The truth is, humanity is not new to the stars. You're just beginning to uncover the fragments of what we've known for millennia." Amelia's heart skipped a beat. "Millennia? You're telling me Earth has been around this long? You're not just a species that recently discovered space." "No," Oswin replied, her voice soft but firm. "Earth was once a thriving center of galactic civilization, a hub for cultures far beyond your imagination. But we were forgotten, lost in time. That is the Earth that we once were, a power beyond reckoning. But something happened. A great catastrophe shattered everything we had built, and we were cast back to the beginning." Amelia struggled to comprehend the enormity of the claim. "A lost civilization. But your records show that your species is barely 2 centuries old. How is that possible?" Oswin's face softened with something like regret. "We were forced to start again. We erased all traces of our past, and the galaxy, your galaxy, has forgotten us. We left nothing behind but the legends and ruins of a long-lost empire. The Earth you know is not the true Earth. The true Earth is far older, far more dangerous, and far more powerful than you could ever imagine." The silence in the room grew heavy as the weight of Commander Oswin's words stank in. Amelia's mind was a whirlwind of questions. How could a civilization of such power have disappeared without a trace? How could they have remained hidden from the rest of the galaxy for so long? Oswin turned and led the way toward a large oval-shaped table, its surface gleaming with a strange, soft light. As they sat, she activated a holographic display, and a series of images flashed across the room. Images of ancient star maps, forgotten battles, and alien technologies beyond anything Amelia had ever seen. "These are the fragments we've uncovered over the years," Oswin explained, her fingers sweeping through the holograms. "The remnants of what we were, what we lost. But there's more, Captain Steele. We've been watching, observing your species, because we believe that in you lies the key to our resurgence." Amelia leaned forward, captivated by the vision. The holograms displayed vast cities, incredible starships, and technology that was far ahead of anything she had encountered in her own travels. These weren't just primitive, undeveloped artifacts. They were relics of a civilization that had mastered the stars, far before the first humans had even learned to communicate across oceans. "You've been watching us," Amelia echoed, her voice trembling with a mix of awe and disbelief. "Why? What do you want from us?" Oswin met her gaze directly. "We've watched humanity rise from nothing, and in that rise, we've seen the spark that was once our own. We've seen the ingenuity, the resourcefulness, and the will to survive. These are the very qualities that once made us great. We believe that humanity holds the key to our revival." Emilia's heart beat faster. "You want us to help you restore what you lost?" Oswin nodded. "Exactly. But there's a catch, Captain. Humanity has no idea what it's about to step into. Our enemies, the ones who brought about our downfall, are still out there, and they will not hesitate to destroy us again if they discover our return. We need your help to stop them." The air seemed to thicken with the weight of her words. The Eagle's Edge crew had thought they were simply observing a developing world, but now they had been thrust into the center of something much larger. They weren't just visitors to Earth. They were part of something much more ancient, much more dangerous. Captain Amelia Steele's mind raced as she processed the gravity of the situation. Earth, it seemed, had always been a far more powerful player in the galaxy than anyone had ever suspected. And now, humanity's forgotten past was about to shape its future in ways they couldn't yet understand. The silence between them was broken by Oswin's voice once more. "Are you ready to face the truth, Captain? Are you ready to help us reclaim our place in the galaxy?" Amelia swallowed hard, her eyes locking onto Oswin's. "I don't know what the truth is anymore, Commander. But I do know one thing. I'm not turning back. Let's begin." Secrets of the past. Captain Amelia Steele's mind was in turmoil as she sat at the edge of the long conference table. The weight of Commander Kira Oswin's revelation hung heavily in the air, like a storm cloud just waiting to break. Earth's past, a history of unimaginable power and vast civilizations, had been hidden from the galaxy for centuries. Now, as the holographic displays flickered in front of her, revealing fragments of ancient star maps, relics, and artifacts, Amelia could hardly process what she was seeing. Humanity, she had always believed, was a young species, barely scratching the surface of space exploration. The idea that they had once ruled a galactic empire, only to fall into obscurity, seemed impossible. Yet the evidence was undeniable. The symbols, the star maps, the complex technologies, they all pointed to a forgotten era where Earth wasn't just a tiny speck in the cosmos, but a dominant force in the galaxy. How could this happen? Amelia asked, her voice quiet as she ran a hand through her dark hair. How could such a powerful civilization just vanish? Why was this erased from our history? Commander Oswin's expression softened, the weight of the question not lost on her. She stood up from the table and walked over to the holographic display. "It wasn't an accident, Captain. We didn't just forget. It was done to us by those who feared our power. Our enemies had been watching us for centuries. They were waiting for the right moment." Amelia's brow furrowed. "Enemies?" "Yes," Oswin continued. "The Noxians, an ancient race of beings who once ruled the outer reaches of this galaxy. They were jealous of our rise and our control over the stars. They saw humanity as a threat to their dominance, and they acted swiftly to eradicate us." Amelia's pulse quickened. "The Noxians. I've never heard of them." "You wouldn't have," Oswin said, turning back to face her. After the fall, most of the galaxy believed the Noxians were a myth. But they weren't. They were real, and they have a long and dark history. They destroyed our empire and erased all traces of our existence, ensuring that no one would ever remember the true Earth. The holographic display shifted, showing the remnants of a massive starship, a ship that dwarfed anything in the current fleet. The ship's design was elegant yet intimidating, its edges sharp and precise. It was the flagship of humanity's greatest fleet, the Phoenix. This, Oswin said softly, pointing to the massive structure, was the flagship of the Earth Dominion, one of the most advanced vessels in the galaxy. It could traverse entire star systems in mere hours, and its weapons could decimate entire fleets. It was our pride, our symbol of power, but it was also our downfall. Emilia leaned in closer, captivated by the image. What happened to it? We lost it, Oswin replied, her voice tinged with a deep sadness. The Noxians came in waves, silent, swift, and deadly. They struck when we were unprepared. They didn't just destroy our ships. They erased our history, our technology, our legacy. The Phoenix was among the first to fall. It was torn apart in a battle that should never have happened. The Noxians used weapons we could never have imagined, devices that could manipulate time, space, and even our own memories. Emilia's eyes widened in disbelief. They erased your memories. They did, Oswin confirmed, her gaze steady. The Noxians have the ability to alter perception, to rewrite history. They made the galaxy forget who we were. They even altered the timelines, so it appeared as if we had never been a galactic power at all. Emilia's mind reeled. The implications were staggering. If the Noxians had such power, they could rewrite reality itself. The very fabric of time could be altered. But how did Earth survive this manipulation? How had they managed to hold on to any piece of their lost heritage? How did you come back from that? Emilia asked quietly. Oswin hesitated, her fingers brushing over the holographic display. It wasn't easy. For centuries, Earth's history was buried beneath layers of deception. We didn't even know what we had lost until our scientists began to uncover fragments, ancient artifacts, old star charts, forgotten technologies. It wasn't until the humans of the 21st century made their first jump into space that they began to stumble upon the clues. Emilia's mind snapped back to the present. But how does that explain your ships, your technology? How did you hide all of this? Oswin smiled, but it wasn't a smile of triumph. It was a bittersweet expression of regret. We didn't hide it, Captain. We had no choice. The Noxians' influence was far-reaching. They destroyed our records, our libraries, our archives. But they couldn't destroy everything. There were survivors, humans who remembered the old Earth, who kept the secrets alive in small, hidden enclaves. Over time, we began to rebuild, to restore what we had lost. And eventually, we found a way to hide ourselves from the Noxians. But how? Emilia asked, now fully engrossed in the tale. Oswin turned and activated another hologram. This one displayed a planet, Earth, but not the Earth Emilia knew. It was far larger, its cities gleaming like stars, its landscapes lush and vibrant. The image seemed to pulse with energy, almost alive. This, Oswin said, her voice growing solemn, is the Earth we used to have. We hid it, Captain. We used advanced cloaking technologies, energy fields, and even dimensional shifts to keep our planet safe. We created a second Earth, a false one that the galaxy believes is the true Earth. The real Earth remains hidden. Emilia stared at the hologram in disbelief. A hidden Earth, a false planet. It was impossible. And yet there it was, right in front of her. The Earth you see now is only a fraction of what we once were. But we've kept it hidden, safe from those who would use our power against us. The humans you see today, they are not the true heirs of our legacy. They are children of the false Earth, unaware of what has been hidden from them. But the time has come for the truth to be known. Emilia's heart raced. The enormity of the situation was beyond comprehension. Earth wasn't just a young species struggling to survive in the stars. It was the heir to an ancient power, a civilization that had shaped the galaxy before it had been erased from history. And now? Emilia asked, her voice barely a whisper. Now, Oswin said, her eyes hardening with determination. We return to the stars. We reclaim what was taken from us. And we stop the Noxians before they can finish what they started." The silence that followed was deafening. Amelia's mind spun with the implications of Oswin's words. Earth had always been more than what it seemed, but now humanity's forgotten past was not only catching up with them, it was demanding to be remembered. The stakes had never been higher, and the future of the galaxy would be determined by what they did next. The hidden war. The cold, sterile atmosphere of the Eagle's Edge was a stark contrast to the heat that surged in Captain Amelia Steele's chest. As she stared out the viewing window, the stars outside felt almost indifferent, uncaring. The revelations she had just learned were too massive to process in a single moment. Humanity's ancient power, their destruction at the hands of the Noxians, and the secret, hidden Earth, all felt like a weight pressing down on her chest, threatening to suffocate her. But she had no time to wallow in disbelief. The enemy was still out there, and they weren't going to wait for humanity to catch up. Amelia turned to face Commander Kara Oswin, who stood behind her, silent, contemplative. The two of them had shared this quiet moment before the storm, a storm they both knew was inevitable. The Noxians were coming, and humanity's survival depended on whether they could adapt quickly enough. Oswin spoke first, her voice steady. "The Noxians have been watching us for millennia, Captain. We've managed to stay hidden for a long time, but they will eventually find us. We have to be ready. Our enemies may have been lurking in the shadows, but now we're going to take the fight to them." "Take the fight to them," Amelia repeated, trying to digest the gravity of the situation. "But we've just learned the truth about our own past. We're not even sure how much of this is still accurate. How do we stand a chance against an enemy that powerful?" Oswin's eyes flickered with something like an ancient, quiet fury. "You think because you're just learning about this power, it's too late to act. Captain, we've always had this power. We just didn't know how to wield it. But we've been studying the remnants of our past, the ancient texts, the technology. We're rebuilding what was lost, piece by piece. Humanity's strength has always been in its adaptability, in our ability to learn, to innovate, to survive against all odds. It's time we used that to our advantage." Amelia's skepticism started to fade, replaced by a spark of hope. "So, you think we can actually take on the Noxians? You think humanity can really stand up to them?" Commander Oswin's gaze softened. "I don't just think it, Captain. I know it. You see, the Noxians have underestimated humanity for far too long. They believe we are nothing more than a fledgling species, still learning how to walk among the stars. But they're wrong. We're more than that. We have the potential to surpass them, if we work together." "Together?" Amelia asked, a sense of unease creeping back into her mind. "But Earth's been hidden for so long. How can we form any kind of united front with the rest of the galaxy? We've been separated from the rest of the universe for centuries." "There are more of us than you know," Oswin replied, her voice firm. "We've kept ourselves hidden, yes, but there are remnants of humanity scattered across the galaxy. Hidden colonies, outposts, and fleets. All of them have been preparing for this moment. You're not alone in this fight, Captain. Earth's legacy is not just a forgotten memory. It's a living, breathing force, and now it's time to awaken it." The weight of Oswin's words settled over Amelia like a shroud. Humanity had always been alone in the galaxy, it seemed, alone in its struggle to survive. But the truth was different now. They were not isolated. They were a force waiting to be awakened, a sleeping giant with power that could rival anything in the galaxy. "We need to find them," Amelia said, her voice low but resolute. "The scattered colonies, the hidden fleets. We need to unite the remnants of humanity if we stand any chance against the Noxians." Oswin nodded. "That's exactly what we've been doing. But we've also been gathering information. There's something you need to know, Captain. Something that's been hidden even from us." Amelia's curiosity piqued. "What's that?" Oswin pressed a button on the console, and a new hologram flickered to life. a diagram of a massive, heavily fortified structure floating in deep space. It was a station of some kind, its silhouette dark and ominous. "This," Oswin began, "is a facility we've tracked deep in Noxian space. We believe it's the source of their power, the heart of their control over time and space. It's called the Nexus Forge. The Noxians have been using it to manipulate the flow of time, create paradoxes, and even erase entire timelines. If we can destroy the Nexus Forge, we can disable their ability to rewrite history." Emilia's eyes narrowed as she studied the hologram. The Nexus Forge wasn't just a weapon. It was a weapon with the power to change reality itself. The implications were mind-boggling. If we destroy the Forge, you think we can stop them? We can't just destroy it, Captain. We need to cripple their entire operation. The Noxians' power isn't just in their ships or weapons. It's in their ability to rewrite the fabric of time. And we need to stop that. The Forge is the linchpin, but there's more to this than just a single strike. Emilia's mind raced. So it's not just about attacking. We have to understand how they manipulate time. Yes, Oswin confirmed. The Nexus Forge has been built using technology that predates even our own understanding. There's a reason the Noxians are able to control time. It's because they're not bound by it the way we are. They've learned how to bend it to their will. That's insane, Emilia muttered under her breath. How are we supposed to fight something like that? Oswin's eyes gleamed with a mix of urgency and determination. We don't have to fight them on their terms. We're going to take their greatest weapon and turn it against them. We have something the Noxians never expected. The ability to adapt. The very qualities they've tried to erase in us. Emilia could feel the shift in the air, the urgency, the sense of purpose. They weren't just surviving anymore. They were fighting back, and they had to win. There was no other option. How do we begin? Emilia asked, her voice calm now, her resolve hardening. We start by gathering every resource we can, Oswin replied. We contact every hidden colony, every fleet that still remembers the old Earth. We rebuild our forces, and we prepare for a war that spans more than just the stars. It spans time itself. A new urgency filled the room as the crew began to prepare for the most dangerous mission humanity had ever undertaken. They weren't just fighting for survival. They were fighting for their place in the galaxy, to reclaim their lost power, and to stop the Noxians before they could erase them from history for good. As the Eagle's Edge prepared to leave its orbit, Emilia Steele felt the weight of the task ahead settle into her bones. The war had begun, and the first steps would be to face the truth about their past. Only by understanding the full depth of humanity's lost legacy could they hope to take on the Noxians and change the future. It was a war that would test everything they knew about time, technology, and themselves. But Emilia Steele was ready. She had no choice but to be. The reckoning. The Eagle's Edge hummed with the pulse of its engines, the ship gliding through the cold vacuum of space. Captain Emilia Steele stood on the command deck, her hands clasped behind her back, watching as the stars stretched into lines of light through the massive windows. Despite the ship's smooth, steady course, there was an undeniable sense of unease, as if something was just beyond the horizon, waiting to strike. Behind her, Commander Kara Oswin paced back and forth, her mind clearly racing with thoughts of the mission ahead. They were heading toward the Nexus Forge, an ancient Noxian stronghold said to house the very core of their temporal control. If they could destroy it, humanity would have a chance to break free from the Noxian grip. But the odds of success were slim. The Noxians had been manipulating time for eons. They were masters of it. Destroying their weapon wasn't going to be as simple as setting a charge and walking away. Captain, Oswin's voice cut through the tense silence, drawing Emilia's focus back to the present. We've been in contact with several of the hidden colonies. They're on board with our plan. But there's something you need to know. The Noxians have already started moving. Emilia turned, her eyes narrowing. What do you mean, moving? Oswin's expression was grim. They've detected us. Our probes have confirmed that they know we're coming for the Nexus Forge. They'd been preparing for this day, just as we have. And they're not going to let us walk in and destroy it without a fight. Emilia took a deep breath, the weight of the situation pressing down on her chest. The Noxians were ready. They had known this day would come. They had been watching humanity's every move for centuries, preparing for a battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. "We need to prepare," Emilia said, her voice steady but firm. "We can't go in unprepared. If we're going to have a chance at taking the Forge, we need to have all our forces in place. I want to coordinate with every fleet, every ship, and every soldier. This is going to be a battle on a scale humanity has never seen before." Oswin nodded, but there was a look in her eyes that Emilia couldn't quite place, something that made her gut twist. "There's more, Captain. The Nexus Forge isn't just a weapon. It's also a trap. The Noxians have rigged it with a temporal field. It's designed to destabilize time around it. The closer we get, the more we risk being caught in it." Emilia frowned. "A temporal field? You mean?" "Yes," Oswin confirmed. "If we enter the field, we could be lost in time. It could throw us forward, backward, or even erase us entirely. It's a weapon designed to create chaos, to prevent anyone from getting close enough to destroy the Forge. That's why it's so well guarded. The Noxians use it to trap anyone who dares to challenge them." The room fell silent as the gravity of Oswin's words sank in. The stakes had never been higher. Humanity was facing an enemy who could twist time itself. They weren't just fighting to survive. They were fighting against the very fabric of reality. "How do we counter it?" Emilia asked, her voice laced with determination. "We can't just give up before we even try." Oswin's eyes darkened, and she stepped closer to Emilia, lowering her voice. "We've been working on something we didn't have before. An ancient weapon, lost to time but rediscovered in the ruins of Earth's forgotten cities. It's a device capable of neutralizing temporal fields. But it's dangerous, Captain. If we use it incorrectly, it could send us into an even worse chaos. We could end up stranded in time, lost to history." Emilia's mind raced. This was the kind of risk that could obliterate their entire mission. Yet, without it, they stood no chance against the Nexus Forge. There was no middle ground. They had to move forward, no matter the cost. "I trust you, Commander," Emilia said, her voice resolute. "We'll use the device, but we have to be careful. If we don't destroy the Forge, everything we've worked for will be for nothing." "Understood, Captain," Oswin replied, her eyes narrowing with resolve. "We'll make it work." The next several hours were a whirlwind of activity. Crew members scrambled to their stations, preparing the Eagle's Edge for the upcoming battle. Emilia stood at the front of the command deck, her eyes scanning the star maps, taking in every detail. The Nexus Forge was located in a remote system, deep within Noxian-controlled space. It was a stronghold, protected by an armada of Noxian ships and the deadly temporal field. But even with these obstacles, Emilia knew that humanity had one advantage the Noxians had overlooked: their unity. The fleets were coming together, responding to the call for aid. The colonies, the hidden outposts, and the forgotten ships that once served Earth's ancient empire were now a part of this fight. They weren't just outmatched by the Noxians. They were united by something stronger than fear. They were united by the truth of their legacy, the legacy the Noxians had tried so hard to erase. As the ships made their way toward the target system, the fleet began to take shape. The ancient human designs, sleek, powerful, and resilient, flanked the Eagle's Edge. Each ship represented a part of the past, a piece of the forgotten Earth that had been hidden for so long. Now that past was coming back to life, and it was ready to strike. "Captain," a voice interrupted her thoughts. It was Lieutenant Turek, the communications officer. "We've made contact with the first wave of support ships. They're entering the system in 15 minutes. "Good," Emilia said, her voice unwavering. "Prepare the fleet for engagement. I want all ships in position. and I don't want any surprises. Once we're within range of the forge, we need to strike fast and hard." "And the temporal field?" Tarek asked. "We'll handle it," Amelia replied, her eyes locking with Oswin's. "The device will be ready." But even as she spoke, Amelia's mind raced with the possibility that this could all go horribly wrong. The Noxians had spent centuries refining their control over time. They wouldn't be caught off guard. They would be ready for whatever humanity threw at them. And yet, as the fleets gathered, and the stars stretched out ahead, Amelia couldn't help but feel a flicker of something else deep inside her: hope. Humanity had faced impossible odds before and come out victorious. They had lost their past, but they were about to reclaim it, and with it, their place in the galaxy. This was their reckoning. Into the eye of the storm. The vastness of space stretched before Captain Amelia Steele as the fleet approached the Noxian stronghold. The distant stars seemed to blur into streaks of light, casting a cold, harsh glow on the warships that accompanied the Eagle's Edge. Every ship, every fleet that had rallied to their cause, now circled the edges of the Noxian-controlled system, preparing for the final strike. Their journey had taken them across the galaxy, from the forgotten corners of human space to the heart of enemy territory. But the true test was now at hand. Amelia stood on the bridge, her eyes scanning the battle formations that filled the display before her. The ships that had once been relics of a lost humanity now gleamed with purpose. Every line, every turret a reminder of Earth's ancient strength. The fleet wasn't just a symbol of defiance. It was the last hope for survival. "We're within range, Captain." Lieutenant Tarek's voice cut through the tense silence. "Noxian ships are closing in. They've detected us." "Hold steady," Amelia replied, her voice calm but resolute. "We won't be the ones to break. Not this time." Behind her, Commander Kara Oswin worked quickly at the console, her brow furrowed in concentration. "The temporal field is active," she said, her voice tight with tension. "We're not going to be able to approach the Nexus Forge without passing through it." Amelia turned, her gaze meeting Oswin's. "What's the status of the device?" "It's ready," Oswin said. "But I don't know how well it'll hold up against the field. We've tested it, but nothing compares to the intensity of a Noxian temporal weapon. It's going to be a gamble." The weight of Oswin's words sank deep into Amelia's chest. There was no room for error. If they miscalculated, the device could destabilize the fabric of time itself, flinging them into a chaotic, unpredictable future. But if they didn't act, the Noxians would continue their reign, manipulating history itself, erasing the possibility of humanity's future. The crew had prepared for every possible outcome, but now, as they closed in on the forge, the only thing that mattered was the moment ahead. "Steady yourselves," Amelia called out to the crew. "This is our only chance. We go in, neutralize the forge, and break their hold over time. We can do this. We will do this." As the Eagle's Edge and its fleet of support ships approached the Nexus Forge, the Noxian fleet moved to intercept. The enemy ships, sleek and angular, emerged from the darkness of space like shadows come to life, their weapons brimming with power. The tension in the air was palpable. This wasn't just a battle for survival. It was a battle for humanity's future. Amelia's hand hovered over the command console, ready to give the order. "All ships, prepare to engage," she commanded, her voice a steady force amid the chaos. "Lock on to their lead ship. We will hit them hard and fast." But before the first shot could be fired, the space around them twisted. The temporal field began to ripple and pulse, distorting space-time itself. A heavy pressure settled over the Eagle's Edge, a sense of disorientation flooding the bridge. The stars outside began to shift, flickering like unstable flames, and for a moment, the ship lurched violently, as if caught in the grasp of something far more powerful than they could comprehend. "Brace for impact," Oswin shouted, her hands flying over the controls, trying to stabilize the ship. But it was too late. The ship lurched again, and suddenly, The world outside the windows was not the same. The stars flickered, and the ships around them seemed to warp, shifting into strange, unfamiliar patterns. Amelia felt her stomach twist as she realized what was happening. The temporal field wasn't just disrupting their path. It was tearing at the fabric of time itself. "We're caught in the temporal flux," Tarek shouted. "The field is destabilizing everything around us." Amelia's heart raced. Time was no longer linear. She could feel it, a stretching, a bending of reality that made everything seem unreal. The ship groaned under the pressure, as if the very timeline it existed within was unraveling. But there was no time to waste. They had to fight through the chaos, or they would lose everything. "Activate the device," Amelia ordered, her voice cutting through the confusion. "Now, Oswin." Oswin slammed her hand down on the console, sending a pulse through the ship's systems. The device they had recovered, an ancient weapon capable of manipulating temporal fields, flared to life with a low hum. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. The temporal flux continued to distort their surroundings, but then the light around them shifted. The device began to work. Slowly, the ripples in space-time began to calm, the pressure lifting. But the field wasn't gone. It was still there, twisting the edges of their reality. The Noxian ships were closing in, and the battle had only just begun. "Target their lid ship," Amelia commanded, gripping the rail of the command station. "We need to hit them hard before they get too close." "Firing," Lieutenant Tarek called, his fingers flying over the controls. The Eagle's Edge fired its first volley of plasma rounds, striking the lead Noxian ship dead on. The explosion was deafening, but it wasn't enough to stop them. The Noxians had far superior shields, and their vessels were built to endure attacks from across time itself. "We're not doing enough damage," Oswin called out, watching the displays flash with incoming Noxian fire. "Their shields are too strong." "Then we take down their shields," Amelia said. "Prepare for a full barrage on their energy cores." This ends now. As the battle raged on, the Eagle's Edge continued its assault, flanked by the other ships in the fleet. The Noxians, despite their technological advantage, were caught off guard by the ferocity of the attack. Humanity's ships, though old by galactic standards, fought with a relentless, almost primal fury. The fleet had nothing to lose, and everything to fight for. For every Noxian ship they destroyed, another appeared to take its place. The battle was far from over, but Amelia could see it in her crew's eyes. The same resolve, the same drive to fight. Humanity would not be erased. They would not go quietly into the night. "We're almost in range of the Nexus Forge," Oswin shouted over the comms. "Get ready, Captain. We're going to need everything we've got." The Nexus Forge loomed ahead, its vast structure more imposing than any ship or station they had ever encountered. It was a fortress built on the fabric of time itself, its design a fusion of Noxian technology and something much older, much more powerful. The forge pulsed with an ominous energy as if it were alive, watching them. "We need to hit it now," Amelia ordered. "Brace for impact. We're going in." The ship's engines roared as the Eagle's Edge pushed forward, the temporal field still pressing against them, the Noxian ships still in pursuit. This was it, the final push. They were going to breach the heart of the Noxian Empire, and they were going to reclaim humanity's future. As the fleet closed in on the Nexus Forge, Amelia knew one thing for certain. Humanity's time was now. This was their moment, and they would fight for it until the very end.